Hello, Excellence family. It's Danny Barnes, Director of Agent Relations. I'm here with Paul Sardone, lawyer, attorney with Excellence title. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good, Danny. How's it going?
Good. Paul and I were talking this morning, trying to figure out content, and he wanted to do a little follow up on the FIRPTA Title Tuesday we did a few weeks ago because he wanted to include a little more information. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Danny. Briefly, when we did that, I had a couple of questions after and things that have come up. So I want to elaborate a little more without getting into too much detail on a couple of topics that I didn't cover about FIRPTA. One of them being, which is a very common scenario in Florida, is if two people are on title together. So let's say you and me, Danny, we buy a property together. I don't have a social security number. I'm a foreigner. You do. When we go to sell, we can't just report on your social and ignore FIRPTA. There is FIRPTA still due on 50% of the price. So we still have to hold money for FIRPTA. That's come up several times, and it was one of the questions I got after the last FIRPTA talk that we did. It's like, what if somebody has a social? So the same thing goes if you have an LLC. Let's say you do a Florida LLC, you and me, the same scenario. We say, all right, well, I'm a foreigner, so let's buy under an LLC. When we go to sell, I'm a member of that LLC, that we're still subject to the withholding. So not to say that a lot of times people don't know that and they just report it under one social, but the important thing to keep in mind, and I touched on it a little bit last time, is that you can submit the forms to the IRS before the closing. So we just had one about 10 days ago where I already had in my hands a letter from the IRS telling me exactly how much tax was due, and it was like something like under $3,000, whereas if I would have held on the FIRPTA, it would have probably been closer to $40,000.
Wow.
So the important thing with it is be proactive and keep in mind, even if it's a husband and a wife, if somebody is foreign, it is subject to FIRPTA. You can't escape it, just if it's otherwise subject to FIRPTA, just because one person under has a social security number.
Basically, they're doing that. They think they can get around it, right?
Yeah. Right. They add somebody. I mean, it happens all the time. Like, well, no, but this person has a social. And it's like, well, I mean, it says it very clearly, and you don't want to really mess around with that in the code for the IRS, that if anyone is subject to the withholding, you can basically divide it. So if there's 3 people, you can do on a third of it, you have to withhold that 15%. You don't have to hold it on the whole thing because the other people, but the presumption is they're all going to pay their taxes. It's not one guy is going to get hit with the whole tax bill
Right
at the end of the year. So the foreigner is still subject to it.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's something that's very common. And then the other thing is, even if you can't get it done in time with submitting the form, the 8288, and getting the withholding amount, if you submit it ahead of time, they will authorize us to hold the funds in escrow. So I don't know if I mentioned that last time, but it makes a big difference.
I think you
it
did.
Makes a big difference if we're holding the funds, whether or mailing a check to the IRS. It's a difference sometimes between months of getting your money back for your taxes. So it's important, just as listing agents, don't give tax advice, don't give legal advice, refer them, but know how this works so you can kind of plan for it ahead of time and have a smooth closing.
And plus, it'll give the buyer and the buyer's agent a peace of mind that this is already taken care of.
Yeah, because the buyer ultimately is the one responsible for the withholding. So if the seller doesn't pay it and bails, leaves the country, and there's a tax bill due, the IRS will send that to the buyer. Will be responsible for the amount of tax not paid. So it's that's why it's important to work with people that are experiencing this and know what they're doing, and with a good accountant too, whenever possible, to try to just get the closing done without any surprises.
Good stuff. Well, listen, we did this on the first part of FIRPTA earlier, so go back and watch that if you missed it. And anything else you want to add for today?
No, I mean, that's it for as far as FIRPTA goes. I think we covered all the hot topics, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out, or any deals, any potential listings with foreigners, and you're confused and don't know who has to sign the listing agreement or what disclosures and stuff. I mean, it's better always to email me or message me, and let me look at it before getting something signed. And then, if there's a mistake, then later it's harder to fix than it is to prevent from the beginning.
Exactly. All right, Paul, thanks again. And as everybody, as always, thanks for tuning in to Title Tuesday, and we'll see everybody in a few weeks.
All right.
All right, thanks, Paul. Have a good week.
All right, no problem. Have a great trip.
Bye-bye.